Hi, my name is Robin Wong. I'm a photographer based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. This is the VILTROX 16mm F1.8 for Nikon Z system. I want to share my thoughts and experience using this lens in this video. Let's do this! As usual, before we start, here are some important disclaimers. I have no connection or affiliation to VILTROX, but they did send me this lens, the 16 f1.8, and I get to keep this lens after review. But I made it very clear to VILTROX that they have no control on what I want to say in this video, and I'm sharing my honest opinion. This is not a new lens. There is a version of 16 f1.8 from VILTROX which was launched last year in May for Sony, but they are making this lens compatible for Nikon Z mount, and I'm testing this VILTROX 16 f1.8 on my own Nikon Z5. I brought the lens and the camera out for some street photography action, mostly focusing on buildings, architecture, wide environmental shots, both during day and night in various locations in Kuala Lumpur, and here are some of those photographs. I really like the design of this VILTROX 16 f1.8 lens. It is in all black, it looks very sleek, and it matches the design of my Nikon Z5 very well. The lens itself is not small, it is on the bulkier side of things. This is a full frame lens, and I appreciate that the front element of the lens is not bulbous, it doesn't come out of the lens, so you can actually attach a filter on this lens. This is beneficial for those who are doing video work. You need to attach ND filters, or if you are a landscape photographer using an ultra wide angle, you can attach filters for all kinds of different effects. The size of the filter is 77mm. The lens is also weather sealed, and it's made of full metal construction. Holding it on my hand, the lens does feel really premium. It doesn't feel cheap. It feels very well constructed. There are several very interesting features on this lens. It does have the standard features like the autofocus to manual focusing switch. It does have the manual focusing ring, but it also has some other less common features which can be very useful as a photographer or videographer using this lens. For example, it has the LCD screen display at the top of the lens, which shows various information. I think the most useful one will be the distance between the lens and the subject, and this is very useful if you want to pre-focus for manual focusing work. Also, this lens has aperture ring, and this aperture ring you can control the f number on the lens itself, or if you're like me, I prefer to control my f number on the camera. You can also delegate the control to the camera, and if you are using the aperture ring on this lens, there is an additional switch for you to enable click or clickless. If you want to have that tactile feedback after every single stop, you can enable click, or if you're doing video, you don't want that hard stops, aperture opening on the lens, then you can enable clickless option on the switch. On top of that, the lens also has two function buttons, not one, but two. And on this Nikon Z5, I can customize these function buttons to whatever function that I want from the camera. Generally, the lens handles very well on my Nikon Z5. I know it's on the heavier side of things, but the Nikon Z5 is not exactly small, so it balances very well, and I've been shooting with this a lot. And here are some more photographs. When When it comes to optical performance, there are a lot of things to like about this VILTROX 16 f1.8. In terms of lens construction, this lens is made of 15 elements in 12 groups. That is quite extensive for a prime lens. Also, the lens construction consists of 4 extra low dispersion lenses and 3 spherical lenses. VILTROX put in all the amazing ingredients into making this particular lens, and this will definitely show in the results, which we'll discuss later on. In terms of general sharpness, I'm very impressed with what this VILTROX 16 f1.8 can do. Looking at the center of the frame, even shooting a wide open aperture at f1.8, I already get very sharp results. Stopping down further to f2.8 and f4, the sharpness improves just a little bit. I will not hesitate to use this 16 f1.8 shooting at wide open at all times. Looking at the edges of the frame, the sharpness does come down a little bit, and you do need to increase the f number to maybe f2.8 or f4 to achieve better sharpness, but I think it suffers more at the extreme corners. Shooting at f1.8, there is clearly some vignetting and severe loss of details. It appears very soft at the corners, and you need to stop down to about f5.6 to achieve sufficient sharpness. If you want corner to corner, edge to edge sharpness, you do need to shoot at f4 or f5.6. But if you're okay with soft corners, if you have nothing at the corner in your frame that's important, if the center of the photograph is the focus, then shooting at f1.8, this lens can render really great results. The contrast is also very good. Images appear very realistic. There is that 3-dimensional pop. All the images look very natural and pleasing, and I also like the bokeh rendering of this lens. If you get close enough to the subject shooting at wide open f1.8, you can render some shallow depth of field, and the blur area appears generally very smooth, buttery, non-distracting. It is not nervous, but the bokeh balls do suffer some onion rings effect. It is not a big problem in my books. I'm not that particular about these onion ring problems, but do bear in mind that it is there, and if you have some bokeh balls at the corners or the edge, it will be stretched due to this wide angle nature of the lens. Generally, I'm very happy with the image performance of this lens. We will talk about the lens flow control after this series of photographs. Generally, I find that this VILTROX 16 f1.8, it handles lens flaws very well. There is some barrel distortion if you have images with straight lines. Looking at the side of the frame, there is some distortion, but it is not too severe, and it can be easily corrected in post. This lens, if you shoot it against strong sources of light, there is some flare and ghosting, but none of these problems are too serious. You have to try really hard to get some flare and ghosting in your images. I think that this VILTROX lens, it handles that very well. Also, if you love starburst effect, if you want to create sun stars, you stop down to f16, f22, this VILTROX lens, it creates very beautiful looking sunspot or sun star effect. And what I'm most impressed with this VILTROX 16 f1.8 is the chromatic aberration control. I shot at wide open f1.8 against high contrast areas, and I tried very hard to get some purple fringing or any kind of color fringing in the image, and I cannot see any traces of them. And I think that's truly impressive for this prime lens for a wide angle f1.8 lens, and that's where the 4 elements of the extra low dispersion lenses come in really handy to control all these color aberrations. Very well done, VILTROX. I'm really impressed. In terms of autofocus performance using this VILTROX 16 f1.8 on my Nikon Z5, autofocus performs really well both in bright daylight conditions or when I was shooting at night when the light level dropped significantly. I have no issue whatsoever with the autofocus. It was always fast, precise, and super reliable. I have high accuracy rates, I have high hit rates, even when I was shooting moving subjects. And I think that the autofocus performance on this lens can only improve with further firmware upgrades. I cannot say how this lens performs on other Nikon bodies or the newer bodies like the ZF, Z8 and Z9, but I think those camera bodies have better autofocus than my Z5 and should perform even better. Having tested this VILTROX 16 F1.8 extensively, I must say I'm amazed by what this lens can do on my Nikon Z5. I'm very happy with the optical quality. The lens is super sharp. A wide open aperture f1.8, I don't have to stop down further unless I want corner to corner, edge to edge sharpness. But I'll shoot at f1.8 most of the time anyway. And the lens itself is loaded with a lot of features. It has 2 function buttons, an LCD display with very useful information. It has aperture ring built in. It's both click and clickless. I think this will benefit a lot of shooters who want the tactile feedback on the lens, or if you're a videographer, you prefer the smooth operation of f number or aperture control. I think this lens also, it takes filters, so it benefits both landscape photographers or videographers. Generally, there's nothing much to dislike about this lens. It is not small, that's the only complaint, but I don't think that's a big problem. It is an ultra wide angle and it has bright aperture f1.8, and it's only retailing for about $549. You get a lot for what you're paying for, and I hope moving forward we get to see more similar lenses from VILTROX. Budget lens, but you get amazing performance. There are some people cutting the branches with a chainsaw from a distance. I hope the audio is not too distracting, but I think that's a cue for me to conclude my review. Overall, I'm very impressed with what this VILTROX 16 F1.8 can do. If you found my review useful, if you've enjoyed looking at my sample photographs, please consider buying me a cup of coffee, or you can contribute directly to my PayPal. Links in the description below on how you can do that. Any small contribution goes a long way, will definitely help me to make more videos and publish them on this channel. Until next one, please go out and take more photographs. Bye bye.